She had no money, no name, no way home. Standing in the middle of a dusty street, every eye on her, Amelia Carter looked up at the scariest man in the valley and asked him to marry her. He could have laughed. He could have ridden away. He didn't, and that choice saved them both. This channel lives where the West was real. Raw love between cowboys and the women who matched them, stride for stride. The fierce loyalty of a mother's heart, and the simple, powerful truth that human kindness can rebuild what any storm destroys. Asking for help is not weakness. It is one of the most courageous things a person can ever do. If Amelia's courage gave you chills, leave a comment below telling us what you'd have done in her shoes. Like, share, and subscribe. We read every single comment.
"Get out of the way," he said, his voice low and flat. But she didn't budge. "I can't," she whispered, with the whole town watching. He leaned down from his saddle. "Are you drunk?" "No." "Crazy?" "Maybe. But I'm all out of options." He took a good long look at her face. Young, but worn clean out. "I don't know you, ma'am," Cole said. "I know," she replied, her voice getting a little stronger. "But everybody in these parts knows who you are." The town sheriff Garrett pushed through the crowd, trying to move her along. But her eyes stayed locked on Cole's. "Please," she begged one last time, "just give me a safe place to stay before dark." When the sheriff put a hand on her arm, she flinched something fierce. Cole saw it plain as day. She wasn't scared of him. She was scared of something else entirely. "Sheriff!" Cole's voice cut sharp as a knife. "Let her go." He looked down at the trembling woman. "What's your name?" "Amelia," she whispered. Cole swung down from his horse, standing a good 6 inches taller than her. "You know what folks say about me?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she answered. "And I'm still asking." He turned to the sheriff. "Has she broken any laws?" Well, no, the sheriff had to admit. Amelia had been swindled by a man who promised marriage, took all her money, and vanished 3 days ago. The hotel was fixing to throw her out. "Can you get my money back from a man who don't exist?" she cried out. Nobody had an answer for that. "Then she's free to go where she pleases," Cole stated. He looked back at Amelia. "Can you ride a horse?" She nodded. "Then get on." The whole street started buzzing as he pulled her up behind him on the saddle. She wrapped her arms around his waist, shaking like a leaf in the wind. "Hold on tight," was all he said. They left Redwood Valley, and all its shocked faces behind in a big cloud of dust. After a few miles, she finally asked, "Where are we going?" "To my ranch," he answered. The silence stretched on for a good long while. Then he asked, "What was the name of the fellow who robbed you?" "Thomas Brennan," she said, and described him right down to a scar on his hand. "Why do you ask?" she wondered. Cole's voice was cold as a snake. "'Cause if he ever shows his face round here again, I want to know who I'm shooting. Men who steal from women are cowards." For the first time in days, a little bit of the tightness in her chest let go. "Don't thank me yet," he grumbled. "You haven't seen where you're staying." His ranch was tucked way out in a valley, miles from anywhere. It was a simple house made of logs and stone, but it looked solid, like it had been there forever. "You live out here all by yourself?" she asked. "That's the whole point," he said, helping her down from the horse. Her legs felt like jelly. Inside, the place was cleaner than she expected. Just a big stone fireplace, a table, and 2 chairs. It was quiet. It was safe. And it was terrifying. She stood in the doorway, wondering what in the world she had just gotten herself into. The cabin was small, with just a sink, some shelves, and 1 bed. "You take the bed," Cole said, grabbing a blanket from a trunk. "I'll sleep out here." He wasn't one for wasting words. "Bolt this door after I leave, and don't you open it for anyone but me." Folks in town swore Cole Hawkins was a monster. But when you're desperate, a monster can look like your only hope. This story is about seeing the good in people everyone else has given up on. And if you've ever felt like the underdog, I reckon you'll get it. Amelia woke to the smell of coffee strong enough to wake the dead. Cole stood at the stove, his back to her. "You let me sleep," she said. He just grunted. "You needed it." He turned and handed her a tin cup of the black, bitter brew. "You'll need your strength," he said, his face like stone. "If you aim to stay, you're gonna work. Ranch life starts before the sun does." She took a long drink. "Try me." For a second, a flicker of something like a smile touched his eyes. "Finish up. Meet me in the barn." In the barn, Cole pointed with his pitchfork. "Grab a shovel." Amelia started on the next stall, home to a huge horse that looked at her with pure meanness. "That there is thunder," Cole warned. "He bites. Took a chunk out of the last 3 hands I hired." Amelia ignored the warning and slowly held out her hand, speaking in a low, steady voice. The horse's ears went flat. "Miss Carter, I ain't fooling." But then, Thunder took a step, and another, and nudged his nose right into her palm. Cole just stared. "Well, I'll be," he muttered. Amelia gave a real smile for the first time in days. Maybe he just needed someone who wasn't afraid of him. She looked straight at Cole. "Sound familiar?" He almost smiled back. "Almost," he said, his voice losing its hard edge. "Get back to work." By sundown, her hands were raw and her back was screaming, but she never once complained. She stumbled and got back up over and over. Cole watched it all, wondering what in the hell he'd gotten himself into with this woman who refused to be scared off. A few days passed with the rhythm of hard work and long silences. Amelia was learning the ranch, but Cole was still a mystery. Finally, she had to ask, "Why'd you help me if you're just waiting for me to leave?" He turned to face her, his eyes dark. "This ain't forever, Miss Carter. You stay till you can stand on your own 2 feet. Then you go. That's the deal." "What if I don't want to go?" she challenged. He looked away. "Everyone leaves," he said flatly. "I'm just trying to understand why you'd help a stranger just to throw them out," Amelia pushed. That's when he finally broke. "Because maybe I'm tired of being the man everyone's scared of." The words tore out of him. "Maybe for once I wanted to be the fella someone ran to for help, not away from. Is that what you wanted to hear?" The barn went quiet. Amelia took a step closer. "Yes," she whispered, that's exactly what I wanted to hear." He looked at her then, and for the first time he saw she wasn't afraid. "If you were the man they say you are," she said, her voice steady, "I'd have been gone long ago. But I'm still standing here." She closed the space between them. "And I don't reckon I'm leaving any time soon." In that quiet barn, Cole Hawkins stopped looking like a monster and started looking like a man who'd just been alone for too long. And right then, he found something he thought he'd lost for good, a little bit of hope. He'd already made 100 poor choices, so what in the world was one more? He should have just walked away, but instead he heard himself grumble, "Fine." "Fine what?" she asked. "Fine. You can stay." He wiped a hand over his tired face. "But we're doing this my way. You work, you keep to yourself, and if anyone from town starts asking questions, you tell them we are married." Amelia just blinked at him. "What?" "You heard me." Cole's voice was solid now, like he'd made up his mind. "If folks find out a woman is living here with no ring on her finger, the gossip will make your life hell. So we tell them we got married quiet, no big fuss, just a practical arrangement." "You want me to lie to everybody?" "I want you to have a life," he shot back, "unless you've got a better idea." She didn't, and they both knew it. "All right," she said. "We're married in name only." "In name only," Cole agreed. "And when you leave, we'll just say it didn't work out." "One more thing," she said. "If we are pretending to be married, you should probably call me Amelia." A hint of a smile touched Cole's mouth. "Amelia," he said, like he was tasting the word. "And I will call you Cole," she added. He shook his head. "Cole is fine." "Good," she said, holding out her hand. "Then I suppose we have a deal." He looked at her small hand for a second, then took it. His grip was firm and warm. It felt like a promise or maybe a warning. 3 days after their handshake, trouble rode up to the ranch. Sheriff Garrett came in a cloud of dust you could see for miles. Amelia was trying to make a garden grow behind the house when she heard Cole's voice, cold as ice. "You are on private property, Sheriff." "I need to talk to you, Cole." Garrett swung down from his horse. "Heard some interesting news in town." "Then you wasted a trip. I do not care what they are saying." "They are saying you got married." The world went silent. "That is right," Cole finally said. "To the woman who was begging in the street? Cole, you do not even know her." "I know enough," Cole said. "Do you?" "I sent a telegraph to Philadelphia. There is no record of any Amelia Carter in that city." Amelia's heart just stopped. She walked around the house, wiping dirt from her hands. "That is because Carter is not my real name," she said quietly. Both men turned to stare at her. "It is my mother's maiden name. I used it when I left home because my father, a federal judge, threatened to have me arrested for theft if I ever came back." Garrett's hand moved toward his gun. "So you are a fugitive." "I am a woman who left a bad situation," she said, her voice strong. "If that makes me a criminal, Sheriff, then I suppose you'd better arrest me." "Nobody is arresting anyone," Cole said, stepping right between them. "She is my wife now. That makes her my responsibility, not yours." Garrett let out a bitter laugh. "Your wife? You married her without knowing her real name?" "I married her because she needed help." Cole's voice dropped, full of danger. "And unless you have a warrant, Sheriff, you need to leave right now." Garrett stared at them, then shook his head. "You are making a mistake, Cole. It would not be my first." As the sheriff rode off, Cole turned to her. "What is your real name?" "Amelia Rothschild," she whispered. "My father is Judge Harold Rothschild. He remarried 6 months after my mother died. When I turned 23, I asked for the inheritance my mother left me. He claimed I'd spent it. I had not touched a dime. So I took my mother's pearl necklace, the only thing I had left of her, and sold it." Her voice grew hard. "I used the money to come west. He accused me of stealing that necklace because he wanted to give it to his new wife." Cole was quiet for a long time. "You should have told me." "Would it have made a difference?" "No," he said. "But lies have a way of catching up to you. Do not lie to me again." He turned toward the barn. "Real name or fake, you are still Amelia Hawkins now, and that means something." She watched him go. "Cole," she called out. He stopped. "Thank you." "That is what husbands do," he said. And then he was gone. She woke at dawn to find him asleep on the sofa. "You're up early," he said, his voice rough with sleep. "Could not sleep," she admitted. "We need to talk," he said, looking out the window. "If your father is as powerful as you say, he can make things very difficult for us." Amelia knew he was right. "Then we need a plan." "We make this marriage real," Cole said. Amelia nearly dropped her coffee cup. "Not like that," he said quickly. "I mean legally real. We ride into town today and register with the county clerk, make it official. That way, if anyone comes looking, you are not hiding. You are a married woman living your life." "But my father could find the records." "Maybe," Cole said. "But this way you have legal protection. It is a risk either way, but it is the best one we have." "All right," she said. "We will make it official today." An hour later, they rode into Redwood Valley on a single horse. Everyone on Main Street stopped to stare. By the time they reached the county clerk's office, the whole town was talking. The clerk was a small man with ink on his fingers. His face went pale when he saw Cole walk in. "Mr. Hawkins, what can I do for you?" "We need to register a marriage." Cole said, pulling off his hat. "This is my wife, Amelia." The clerk's eyes darted between them. "I see. And when did this happen?" The clerk wrung his hands. "Mr. Hawkins, the law requires witnesses. I just can't file it otherwise." From the doorway, a stern voice cut through the silence. "I will witness it." Everyone turned. It was Mrs. Pritchard, the town schoolmarm, a woman in her 50s known for speaking her mind. "I saw them take their vows," she declared, looking straight at Cole. "I'm not doing this for you, Cole Hawkins. I'm doing it because this young lady deserves to have her marriage respected." She then turned her gaze to Amelia. "I don't know your troubles, child, but I know desperation. And I know Cole isn't the monster folks claim. I'll sign." Amelia whispered, "Why?" Mrs. Pritchard's face softened. "Because I know what it's like to need a helping hand." "You'll need one more," the clerk added. Just then, Dr. Samuel Chen stepped inside. "I'll do it," he said with a kind smile. Cole's jaw set hard. "You sure, Doc? Tongues will wag." Dr. Chen just chuckled. "Let 'em. I've been the talk of this town since I moved here from San Francisco 10 years ago." And with that, Cole Hawkins and Amelia Rothschild were married in the eyes of the law. Amelia hesitated for a second before signing her name with a steady hand. Amelia Marie Hawkins. When they stepped outside, a crowd was waiting. Sheriff Garrett stood front and center. "So it's true," he said flatly. "You married her." "That's what the paper says," Cole answered, his voice even. "Folks are going to talk, Cole." Cole took Amelia's hand, a firm and public gesture. "She's my wife. Anyone with a problem can bring it directly to me." The threat hung in the air. Then Mrs. Pritchard stepped forward, smiling. "Well, I think it's high time this town had some good news. You're both welcome at the church social next Sunday, Mrs. Hawkins." She looked at the crowd. "We take care of our own here, isn't that right?" A few folks nodded in agreement. The sheriff's face soured. "This isn't over." "Yes, it is," Cole said, his eyes locked on Garrett's. "Unless you have actual charges, I suggest you find some real crime to worry about." Garrett turned and walked off, the crowd melting away behind him. But Amelia's blood ran cold when she saw one woman still watching them. She was elegant, dressed in fancy clothes that didn't belong in their dusty town. When their eyes met, the woman gave a cold, calculating smile. "Cole, we have to go. Now!" Amelia whispered urgently. He didn't ask why, just got them on the horse and rode hard out of town. "There was a woman," Amelia finally said, her voice shaking. "Dark hair, expensive dress." "I saw her," Cole said, his tone grim. "Showed up 2 days ago asking about investments." Amelia's throat went dry. "She's lying. That's Victoria Rothschild, my father's wife. He knows where I am." They rode the rest of the way in a heavy silence. At the ranch, Cole turned to her. "Tell me everything, no more secrets." Amelia laid the whole ugly story bare. She told him how Victoria had married her father for his position, then slowly cut Amelia off from everyone. She recounted the night she heard them in the study, planning to have her declared hysterical and locked away in an asylum just to secure an inheritance. "That's when I fled," Amelia explained. "I sold my mother's necklace and used the money to disappear. This arrangement was meant to be a new life." She gave a hollow laugh. Cole was silent for a spell. "She can't make you go back. You're my wife now. Your father's got no claim. He's a federal judge, Cole. He'll just invent a claim. Not without proof." "He will make proof," she insisted, turning to him. "You don't get it. My father never loses, and he destroys anyone who stands in his way. I've put you in danger. You didn't drag me into anything, but you are in danger." "I've been in danger my whole life." Cole's voice was like stone. "Her showing up changes nothing. We stick to the plan. And if they try to take you, they're coming through me." You can't fight a judge. Watch me. That certainty should have comforted her, but it only brought a cold dread. Amelia knew courage wasn't always enough. Sometimes the monsters just win. That night she lay awake in Cole's bed, listening to the ranch sounds and the steady rhythm of his breathing from the other room. It had been 2 weeks. 2 weeks of discovering Cole Hawkins was a patient and kind man. Now she was repaying that kindness by painting a target on his back. "I can hear you thinking from here." His voice cut through the dark, startling her. She sat up. "I'm sorry, did I wake you?" "Wasn't asleep, you all right?" She answered honestly. "No, I want to get Victoria to leave without ruining you." "Not your job to fix it. She's here because of me, and you're here because I agreed," Cole said, leaning in the doorway. "So if we're handing out blame, we can share it. Seems to me most trouble starts with more than one person's choice." He crossed his arms. "You chose to run, I chose to help. Victoria chose to chase. Your father chose to be a snake. There's enough blame to go around. So what now? We wait, and we prepare." "Prepare how?" Cole stepped into the room, his face a landscape of shadow in the moonlight. "Tomorrow I start teaching you how to shoot. If your father would lock you up, he'd do worse. And I won't always be there." His gaze met hers. "You need to know how to protect yourself." Amelia's heart hammered against her ribs. "I don't know if I can." "You can," he said, his voice softening. "You stood up to the sheriff. You've worked yourself to the bone without a single complaint. You're a hell of a lot stronger than you think." She wanted to argue, but found herself just nodding. "All right," she whispered. "Teach me." He turned to go, then stopped. "And Amelia, whatever happens, you are not facing it alone. You understand?" For the first time since seeing Victoria, she believed she might have a chance. The pistol felt all wrong in her hands, a cold, heavy weight. "You're holding it like it's going to bite you," Cole said from behind her in the clearing. "Relax your shoulders." "I can't." "Yes, you can." His hands were gentle on her arms as he adjusted her stance. "Breathe. The gun ain't the enemy. Fear is." She squeezed the trigger. The shot was deafening, and the kick almost sent her stumbling. The bullet went wide by a mile. "Again," he said. She fired and missed again. After the 10th shot, she wanted to throw the gun in the creek. "I can't do this." "You're learning. Failing is part of it." He reloaded the pistol with an easy skill. "You think I hit my target the first time? I shot my own foot. My old man just laughed until he nearly choked." Amelia stared at him. "You're lying." "I'm not. The difference between survivors and folks who ain't," he said, "is that the survivors get back up and try again." She looked from the gun back to the row of tin cans. "One more time." "That's my girl." The words warmed her more than the sun. She raised the pistol, breathed, and fired. A can flew off the log. Cole's hand landed on her shoulder, solid and proud. "There you go. I did it." "You did. Now do it again." By the end of the week, she could hit 4 of the 6 cans without fail and reload without fumbling. "You're a natural," Cole said, watching her hit 5 in a row. "Better than most men I've seen." "That's because most men think they know it all already," she replied, reloading. She lowered the gun. "Can I ask you something? Why did you really say yes that day?" His gaze met hers. "And don't tell me you were just tired of being alone." Cole was quiet for a long moment. "You remind me of someone." "Who?" "My sister." Amelia's breath caught. "I didn't know you had a sister." "I don't. Not anymore. She died 10 years ago. A fever took her while I was away on a cattle drive." "I'm so sorry." "She was 15, and brave as they come," he said, his voice rough. "She would have liked you." Is that why you helped me? Partly, he admitted. But mostly, it's because when you stood in front of my horse, you didn't apologize for needing help. You just asked for it. I hadn't seen that kind of grit in a long, long time. Amelia's throat felt tight. She must have been amazing. She was, and she deserved better than dying alone while I was off chasing cattle. It wasn't your fault. He looked away. I chose work over family. That choice killed her. No, the fever killed her. Survival don't mean much if you lose everyone worth surviving for, Adele. That mistake again. I told you yes, Amelia, because someone needed help, and this time I was going to be there. All she could say was, thank you. Cole's face grew hard. Do not thank me yet. Victoria is not going to just give up. As if he had called her name, they heard horses coming up the path. Cole's hand went to his gun. But it was not Victoria. It was Dr. Chen, and he was riding hard. He pulled his horse to a stop, gasping for breath. Cole, we have got a problem. Dr. Chen explained that Victoria went to the sheriff with papers. She claimed Amelia was wanted for stealing over $10,000 back in Philadelphia. Amelia felt the world spin. That is a lie. I know, the doctor said, but the papers look official. Now the mayor is pressuring the sheriff to arrest you. He looked at Cole. She is also claiming you are hiding a fugitive. If you do not turn Amelia over by sundown, they will arrest you too. Cole's voice was pure ice. Let them try. Cole, these are federal charges, Dr. Chen warned. If they arrest her, she will be sent back to Philadelphia, and once she is there, she will disappear into an asylum. Amelia finished for him, her hands shaking. That was their plan all along. Accuse me of a crime, declare me unstable, and lock me away. Cole's jaw was set. Over my dead body. A cold voice answered from the path. That can be arranged. They turned to see Victoria Rothschild on her horse with two men beside her. Both men wore marshal badges. Victoria's smile could have cut glass. Hello, Amelia. You have caused quite a bit of trouble. I want you to come home and get the help you need. Your father is worried. Running off, stealing, marrying some gunman. It is clear you are not well. I am perfectly fine. No. The Amelia I knew would never act this way. That fever must have damaged your mind. She then turned to the marshals. Gentlemen, you can see my stepdaughter is not herself. We must take her back home. The marshal with a scar on his cheek stepped forward. Ma'am, you're going to have to come with us. Cole moved to stand in front of Amelia. She is not going anywhere. Unless you have a warrant signed by a Colorado judge, you have no power here. We have federal papers, the marshal said. I do not care if you have a letter from the president himself. This is Colorado territory. You need local authority. Cole's hand was ready. So unless Sheriff Garrett is with you, I suggest you ride on back to town. The marshal's eyes narrowed. Are you threatening us? I am just stating the facts. Cole, do not, Amelia pleaded, touching his arm. They will only come back with more men. Let them. I will not let them take you, he said, his eyes fierce. We face this together. Victoria let out a cold laugh. How sweet. The killer and the thief. But you do not understand, Amelia. Your father does not just want you back. He wants you destroyed. He underestimated her, Cole said flatly. Did he? Victoria's smile grew wider. From where I stand, she looks trapped. She pulled a paper from her saddlebag. This is a writ of extradition. It is signed by 3 judges, and it overrides any local laws. It means if you keep harboring her, you will be arrested for obstruction of justice. She paused, letting her words sink in. Or, we can make this easy. Amelia comes with us, and you go back to your quiet life. No trouble for you. For a terrible second, Amelia thought he might consider it. Then Cole spoke. I have a counteroffer. You leave my property now. And you tell Judge Rothschild that if he wants his daughter, he will have to come get her himself. I am not handing her over to his hired help. Victoria's smile vanished. You are making a big mistake. It would not be my first, Cole's voice dropped low. "Now get off my land before I forget my manners." The scarred marshal went for his gun, but Dr. Chen was faster. He fired a warning shot into the air. The other marshal drew his weapon, but Cole already had his pistol out, aimed right at Victoria's heart. "The next person who moves dies," he said calmly, "and I will start with her." Victoria's face went white with fear. For a long moment, no one even breathed. Then she pulled her horse back. "This is not over. I know," Cole said. "My husband will ruin you both. He can sure try. Now leave." Victoria finally turned and rode away, her marshals right behind her. "That was mighty foolish," Dr. Chen said, putting his gun away. "Yeah," Cole agreed, lowering his own pistol, "but it bought us some time." "Time for what?" Amelia asked. "Time to fight back," he said. He turned to her. "Your father is a federal judge. That means he has enemies. We find those people, we make them our allies." Dr. Chen shook his head. "That could take months, and there is no guarantee they will help." "Then we will give them a reason to," Cole said, his jaw tight. "We prove your father and Victoria are the real criminals. We find proof they stole your inheritance." "But how?" Amelia asked. "All the records are in Philadelphia." "Then we make the records come to us," Cole said, a plan forming in his eyes. "He said they stole $50,000 from you. We get them to admit it." "We will set a trap," Cole declared. "We make your father think he has won. When he comes here to gloat, we will get him to confess everything." It was a long shot, but it was all they had. That night, Amelia sat writing letters by the lamplight. She wrote to old family friends, anyone who might have proof of her father's crimes. She wrote until her hand ached. Cole sat across the table methodically cleaning his guns. The silence was heavy. They were at war. "You should get some sleep," Cole finally said. "I cannot," she replied. She looked at the man who had married a stranger and was now risking his life for her. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. "You could let them take me. It would be so much easier." He looked up, his eyes meeting hers. "Easier is not always right, but you barely know me. I know enough." He put down the gun he was cleaning. "I know you're brave. You stood in front of my horse and asked for help when you could have given up." He paused, his voice low. "And I know if I let them take you, I'll spend my life wondering if I could have saved you. I'm tired of wondering about folks I should have saved." Amelia felt a lump form in her throat. She wanted to tell him he owed her nothing, but she didn't want to be alone tonight. "Can I ask you something?" she said softly. "When you called me your girl at shooting practice, did you mean it?" Cole went very still. "What do you think?" She walked right up to him. "I think maybe this isn't just pretend anymore." He looked up at her. "No, it's not." "You scare me too," she whispered, her hand finding his cheek. "Good," he rumbled, standing up. Suddenly they were so close she could feel the heat coming off him. "Fear means you're paying attention." Then he kissed her. It was not gentle. It was fierce and desperate, a kiss that said everything they couldn't speak. When they finally broke apart, breathing hard, he rested his forehead on hers. "Well, this complicates things," he said. "Everything's already complicated," she answered, her hand still balled up in his shirt. "Yeah." He pulled her into a tight hug, and she laid her head on his chest, listening to his heart beat strong and steady. Outside, the wind howled, signaling a coming storm. But in his arms, for that one moment, she felt completely safe. Amelia woke to sunlight and the smell of bacon, finding Cole already in the kitchen. He greeted her without turning from the stove. She poured some coffee, her mind still on the night before. He finally looked at her, his eyes warm. "Mrs. Pritchard and a whole mess of church ladies are heading this way. Word got out about yesterday's trouble. They're coming to show this whole town whose side they are on." Sure enough, a wagon soon pulled up, packed with 6 determined women. Mrs. Pritchard marched to the door like a general. "We brought you all some food," she announced. And we are not leaving until every busybody in 3 counties knows this town stands with you." Amelia was overcome. "You do not have to do this." Mrs. Pritchard's voice was firm. "Yes, we do. That Victoria woman was bragging all over town about dragging you back to Philadelphia. We will not let some city woman run roughshod over one of our own." She then declared they would all be at the Johnsons' barn raising next week, and that was not an invitation. It was an order. Cole and Amelia looked at each other and, against all odds, started to laugh. For the first time, they did not feel so alone. After the ladies left, leaving behind a mountain of food and a feeling of hope, Cole remarked, "That woman is scarier than a gang of outlaws." But their relief was short-lived when they saw a rider approaching. It was Sheriff Garrett, and he was not alone. "Stay inside," Cole ordered, his hand near his gun. Amelia stood right beside him. "We are in this together." Garrett dismounted with 4 deputies. "Cole," he said, "Judge Rothschild sent another wire. Turn over his daughter by morning, or he is sending federal agents to arrest you both. And he is not bluffing." "Let them come," Cole said flatly. Garrett lost his temper. "This is not a joke, Cole. They will bring 20 men. You cannot outdraw 20 men." Cole's jaw was tight. "Watch me." A young deputy named Michael pleaded with them. "Please, it is not worth dying for." Amelia's voice was steady as she spoke to him. "Michael, if someone falsely accused your sister and threatened to lock her away forever, would you tell her it was not worth fighting for?" The boy flushed. "That is different." "No," she said, "it is not. My father is a liar and my stepmother is a thief. If you help them, you are no better than they are." When another deputy muttered they were just following orders, Amelia's reply was cold. "Then you are cowards, and you know it." Just then, Dr. Chen rode up in a hurry. "It does matter," he announced. "I got a response to my telegrams. Judge Rothschild has been under investigation for 6 months for financial crimes. It turns out when I told some lawyers in Philadelphia about Amelia's situation, they said they had been waiting for someone to come forward with proof of his corruption." Dr. Chen held up a folder. They confirmed Amelia's mother's estate was worth over $60,000, money that was stolen from her. The judge got greedy and left a paper trail a mile wide. "You are not going back to Philadelphia," he told her. Garrett looked stunned, but insisted his orders stood. Cole stepped in. "Colorado law requires probable cause. Do you have that, Sheriff? Or just orders from a crook about to be arrested himself?" Garrett looked at his deputies, who offered no support. "I need to think," he said. Cole's voice was ice. "Think fast. Because if federal agents show up on my land tomorrow, there will be a fight, and it will not be me who loses." Garrett gave them 24 hours and rode off. Dr. Chen handed Amelia the folder. It was all there, proof of the theft, of her father's lies. Dr. Chen had proof. He'd found where Victoria moved every last dollar from Amelia's mother's estate into her own accounts. He'd been working on it since the day Amelia first told him about her father. He said a doctor knows corruption when he sees it, and he refused to let her face it alone. Cole looked at Dr. Chen like the man had just parted the sea. Then he said quietly, "Sam, thank you." But the doctor wasn't celebrating yet. Victoria was still in town, and she was dangerous. As if on cue, a low rumble of thunder rolled down from the mountains. Cole looked up at the sky. Dark clouds were building and moving, and way too fast. "A big storm is coming," he said, "and those clouds are moving all wrong. That means the river is going to rise and rise fast." Amelia grabbed her saddle before Cole could stop her. "You said we're in this together," she told him. "That means I don't stay behind while you ride into danger." Cole stared at her for a long moment, then let out a heavy sigh. "You're probably going to get us both killed." She just kept saddling her horse. "Well, at least we'll die together." They rode out just as heavy sheets of rain began to fall. When they finally reached the upper ridge, what they saw made Amelia's blood run cold. The river was already a raging monster. "Lord have mercy," Cole breathed. "The whole snowpack must be melting at once. The town has 2 hours, maybe less. We need to warn them right now." They reached Redwood Valley just as the first surge of water slammed into Main Street. People were screaming, running for their lives. Cole rode straight for the sheriff's office. "Garrett," he shouted, "the river's breaking. We have maybe an hour before the whole valley floods." Garrett's face went pale as he ordered everyone to the church, the highest ground in town. Cole and Amelia split up, pounding on doors, pulling people from buildings that were already starting to go under. Amelia found Mrs. Pritchard trying to save her schoolhouse. "Leave it!" Amelia shouted over the roar, pulling her away. "The books can be replaced. You can't." Amelia caught Mrs. Pritchard just before her feet slipped into the rushing water, dragging her to safety. Across town, Cole heard screaming. The boarding house on the east side had collapsed, trapping people inside. He waded into the waist-deep current without a second thought. Dr. Chen appeared beside him, and together they pulled boards and stones away. They got 2 women and a young boy out, but as Cole reached for the last one, the building groaned. He dove back in, shielding her as a heavy beam crashed down on his shoulder and pulled her into the water just as the rest of the structure gave way. The next hour was a desperate blur of water and rescues. By the time they guided the last family to the church, the lower half of Redwood Valley was completely gone. But every single person was alive. Cole, covered in mud and blood, collapsed against the church wall, just trying to breathe. Amelia sank down beside him. "We did it," she whispered. "No," Sheriff Garrett's voice cut in, making them both look up. "He's right. You saved them. All of them." The sheriff confessed that without Cole, half the town would now be dead. Then the people Cole had saved started to speak. Michael Patterson's mother, clutching her daughters, stepped forward with tears on her face. "Mr. Hawkins," she said, her voice shaking, "we were cowards to believe the lies about you, but you are a hero. If anyone tries to arrest you or your wife, they will have to go through this entire town first." The boarding house woman Cole had saved agreed. One by one, the whole town stood with them, surrounding the very man they had once feared. Suddenly, the church doors slammed open. A soaked and furious Victoria stood there with her 2 marshals. "How touching," she spat. "The law doesn't care about heroics. That woman is wanted for theft, and we are taking her tonight." Michael Patterson stepped right in front of her, his hand resting on his gun. "The lady stays here." The marshal warned him to stand down. "I am tired of being afraid," Michael said, his voice steady as he drew his weapon. Around the room, other men stood up and did the same. Cole stepped forward. "It is your choice, gentlemen. You can try to take my wife and start a war you will not win, or you can walk away and tell everyone that Redwood Valley does not scare easy." The mercenary looked at the crowd of armed townsfolk and holstered his weapon. "This is not over," he told Victoria. She was shaking with fury. "I paid you." He just shook his head. "You paid us to do a job, not to get ourselves killed." Victoria glared at Amelia. "You think you have won? My husband will destroy all of you." "Let him try," Amelia said, and she meant it. After Victoria stormed out, the church fell silent. Then Mrs. Pritchard began to clap. Soon the whole room was applauding. This was not just a business arrangement anymore. Surrounded by the people of their town, Cole and Amelia knew this was real. The storm raged for 3 long days, flooding the valley. The whole town hunkered down in the church, and the few buildings on high ground waiting it out. Cole and Amelia worked non-stop, handing out supplies and keeping spirits up, both trying to ignore the fact that Victoria would be back. On the 4th morning, the rain stopped. The town was a wreck, but everyone was alive. "We'll rebuild," Mrs. Pritchard said, looking at the devastation. "We always do." Cole came to stand beside her. "You won't have to do it alone. I've got lumber and tools at the ranch, whatever you need." She gave him a small, tired smile. "Cole, you've already done more than enough." He shook his head, his gaze steady. "This is my town too now." "Do you like it?" she asked. Cole's eyes found Amelia across the yard, and a slow smile spread across his face. Sheriff Garrett came tearing over, waving a telegram. Cole read it once, then again, his face a mask of disbelief. "Is this for real?" Garrett grinned wide. "That crooked Judge Rothschild's been arrested. The warrant for Amelia is gone. She is a free woman." Cole let out a long breath. "She is free." Garrett looked him in the eye. Cole, I was wrong. I should have believed y'all from the get-go, and for that, I am sorry. Cole just shook the sheriff's hand. Where is she? He found Amelia in the church. One look at his face, and she knew something had happened. What is it? He handed her the telegram. The judge was arrested, she whispered, her face pale. And the charges? Cole's voice was thick with emotion. Gone, Amelia. They are all gone. You are free. She just stared at the paper, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. I'm free, she breathed, her voice cracking. And with that, Amelia just melted against Cole's chest, a storm of tears she had held back for weeks finally breaking loose. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her steady right there in the middle of town. Folks were starting to stare and whisper, but Cole didn't give a lick. Let them look. This woman had walked through fire and deserved to cry. When she finally looked up, face all blotchy, he thought she was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. What now? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Now, Cole said, gentle as could be, you get to decide what you want. You are free, Amelia. You can go anywhere you please. You are not bound by fear, and you are not bound by me. She looked at him confused. You think I would leave? Well, I think you came here looking for a safe harbor, and now you have found it. If you want to go back east or anywhere that is not a run-down ranch with a man who does not know the first thing about making someone happy, I would understand. Cole Hawkins, she said, her voice finding its strength. You are the stupidest smart man I have ever met. She took his face in her hands. Do you really think I stayed here just because I had nowhere else to turn? I stayed for you, she said, her eyes locked on his. Somewhere between being terrified on that street and standing here right now, I fell in love with you. And if you think I'm going anywhere, you have lost your mind. Cole felt the whole world shift under his boots. You love me? Of course I love you, you big idiot. I choose you, she said fiercely. I choose this town, this life, and everything that comes with being your wife. For real this time. He kissed her then, a real kiss in front of God and everybody, and he did not care one bit who saw. When they finally parted for air, he rested his forehead against hers. I love you too, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Then that settles it. Amelia smiled through her happy tears. We are married for real. No takebacks. No takebacks, Cole agreed, just as the sound of hoofbeats thundered into town, shattering their perfect moment. A rider, caked in dust and plum-tuckered out, stumbled off his horse and staggered toward them. When he got close enough for Amelia to see his face, her blood ran cold. It was Thomas Brennan, the man who had taken her money and left her for dead. Amelia, he hollered. Thank God I found you. Cole moved in front of her in a heartbeat, his hand resting on his gun. You have got 5 seconds to start talking before I send you to meet your maker. Wait, Thomas pleaded, his hands up. I did not abandon her. I was arrested. A likely story, Cole said, his voice like ice. It is true. Victoria Rothschild paid the sheriff in Denver to lock me up on phony charges. By the time I got out, Amelia was gone. He looked past Cole, his eyes finding hers. I have been searching for you ever since, trying to make things right. Why should I believe a word you say? Amelia's voice was steady, though her heart was pounding. Because I have this, Thomas said, pulling a leather pouch from his coat. Every dollar Victoria took from you, plus interest. I tracked her down and got it all back. Victoria bragged about it, Thomas said, his face grim. Laughed about how she paid off your fiancé to disappear, but she made a mistake. She paid me with a bank draft. When I threatened to expose her for fraud, she paid me again to go away for good. He held the pouch out. But I could not do it. You deserved better. So I came to give you what is yours. Sheriff Garrett took the pouch and looked inside. Well, I will be. It is all here, at least $2,000. Amelia felt her knees go weak. I do not understand, she whispered. Why help me now? Thomas looked at her with pure regret. Because I was supposed to give you a fresh start. Instead, I let that woman destroy you. I cannot fix what I did, but I can make sure you get what you were promised. The money was not the promise, Amelia said softly. The fresh start was. And I got it, just not from you. She took Cole's hand, and Thomas's face fell. You are married? I am. To a man who keeps his promises. Thomas just nodded. Then I'm glad for you, truly. He looked at Cole. Take care of her. I will, Cole said, all the anger gone from his voice. As Thomas turned to leave, Amelia called out, Wait! Thank you for bringing the money back. That took real courage. Thomas gave a sad smile. Not as much as you showed. You are braver than I ever was. And with that, he mounted his horse and rode away. Sheriff Garrett handed the pouch to Amelia. What do you want to do with this? She looked at Cole, then at the broken town around them. Give it to Mrs. Pritchard for the rebuilding, she said, her voice ringing with certainty. A new schoolhouse, supplies, whatever this town needs. I've got everything I came here for right here. Mrs. Pritchard gasped. Mrs. Hawkins, that is far too generous. It is not nearly enough for what y'all did for me, Amelia said, looking at the faces around her. You stood by me. You protected me. The least I can do is help rebuild the town that gave me a home. In the quiet that followed, Mrs. Pritchard stepped forward and pulled Amelia into a fierce hug. Welcome to Redwood Valley, dear, she whispered. Not as a stranger, but as family. But Amelia was barely listening. She was looking at Cole, who was looking back at her with an expression that made her heart sing. What? She asked. Marry me, he said. She laughed. We are already married. I know, he said, taking her hands. But we did it wrong. We did it out of fear. I want to do it right. I want to stand before this whole town and God himself and declare that I choose you, not because you needed saving, but because I love you with all my heart. Tears welled in her eyes. Cole Hawkins, will you marry me? For real this time? Yes, she whispered without a second's thought. 1,000 times. Yes. He kissed her, and this time the whole town cheered so loud it shook the foundations of the new buildings they would soon raise together. They rebuilt Redwood Valley side by side as a community, as a family. In those weeks of hard work, the town finally saw Cole not as a monster, but as a man who worked harder than anyone and helped his neighbors without being asked. And Amelia became more than a desperate bride. She became the heart of the town, the woman who had given a fortune to see it rise from the ashes. They had found their place. On the first Sunday in the new church, Mrs. Pritchard made an announcement about a town celebration for all their hard work. But she had a little secret. That party had a second purpose, one known only to a few. The day of the party was perfect, with a clear blue sky and a warm sun. It felt like a gift, a brand new start for everyone. For at the town celebration, Mrs. Pritchard pulled them into a back room. What is going on? Amelia asked. The woman smiled, holding up a beautiful white dress. You two are getting a proper wedding right now. Amelia was stunned. But we are married. Mrs. Pritchard's eyes were kind. Not the way you deserved. This whole party is for you. Dr. Chen added, Cole's been in on it the whole time. Amelia whipped around to face her husband. You knew? Cole ducked his head. It was my idea. You deserved a real wedding from the start. She looked at the pure love on his face, and all she could say was, help me get into that dress. Soon she stood at the church doors, ready. As they opened, the whole town was there, packed to the rafters. At the front stood Cole, looking like the most blessed man on earth. She walked down that aisle straight to him. The preacher began, Friends, we are here to see a promise made not from fear, but from pure love. He looked right at them. These two faced darkness and found the light. After the old words were said, Cole took a deep breath. Amelia, you are the bravest, kindest, and most stubborn woman I know. The crowd chuckled, You took a broken man and showed him something worth fighting for. I will spend the rest of my life trying to be the man you deserve. I love you." With tears in her eyes, Amelia answered, "Cole, you did not save me. You taught me how to save myself. You showed me I was worth fighting for, and now I cannot live without you." She squeezed his hands. "I choose you, today and every day after." The preacher beamed. "Well then, I pronounce you husband and wife, again. Cole, you may kiss your bride for real this time." And he did, like she was the answer to a prayer he never knew how to say. Amelia gently touched his jaw. "You were never a monster, Cole. Just a good man, waiting for someone to see past all the talk." They walked back down that aisle, not as folks making a desperate deal, but as partners who had fought hard for their happiness and won. The whole town celebrated with them until the sun went down. As golden light washed over the rebuilt Redwood Valley, they stood on the church steps, watching their friends and family. Cole asked her, "Are you happy?" "More than I ever knew was possible," she said, leaning against his shoulder. "I never thought I could feel this way." He grinned. "Good, because you are stuck with me now. That is a promise." Their real story started the second they both figured that being alone was a whole lot scarier than being afraid. They learned that asking for help is true bravery, and that real love is always worth the fight. The woman who asked the most feared man in the territory to marry her did not just save herself. She saved him, too. And she saved a town that had forgotten how to stand as one. Cole Hawkins, feared for 5 long years, showed everyone that sometimes the men folks call monsters are just heroes waiting for someone to believe in them. Together they turned a bargain into a family, and taught their town that what truly matters is courage and loving someone enough to change everything. This content was carefully researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to deliver meaningful stories with valuable life lessons. Every narrative is crafted to entertain, inspire, and empower our audience. We believe that great stories can change lives, and we are committed to bringing you content that matters. Thank you for being part of our community.